with royal historian and author of Battle of the Brothers, William and Harry, Robert Lacey. Robert, it's fantastic to have you in the studio with us. And before, we'll have you on the show throughout, and we'll get into the brothers a little bit later on. But let's focus on the man himself today. Charles, you've been studying the royals throughout your career. I mean, I assume you thought you were going to see the coronation. How do you feel about today?
Well, I was struck by what we saw just then when he said, I didn't make many friends. It's a reminder of what a very special life he's led. And we're celebrating the big public aspect of it today. I was very interested by the way in which you, described his relationship with Camilla. Who would have thought 30 years ago that we'd be greeting Camilla as Queen? It's his great day. But of course, his younger brother Andrew will not be up there in the main ceremonial aspects of it. And most important of all, his younger son Harry will not be taking part, although we will be seeing them both, we understand.
So just in terms of moving forward, this new monarch obviously wants to change things, he wants to make things different. I mean, when you look back at the late Queen, she was very much of the mindset, if my late father did it, I will do it.
Yes.
Charles doesn't feel the same way, does he? He wants to modernise the monarchy. We've seen it being slimmed down. We've already seen changes to the service itself. The fact is it's no longer 3 hours, it's 2 hours. Charles very much keen to put his own stamp on the monarchy.
Yes, and the last coronation was for the beginning of the television age. This is the beginning of the internet age. And what's interesting about those crowds out there, we'll see, that whereas in 53 they may have, well, they would have had their portable radios perhaps and listened to what had gone on in the Abbey, everybody in that crowd will have watched it on their mobile phones and will in that way have been a participant in the whole event.
We're taking live pictures now. You can see down on the Mall. Groups gathering with their Union Jacks. And we've seen people camping out, I mean, almost all week, Robert. So when we compare and contrast Queen Elizabeth's coronation back in the 50s and now, as you've pointed out, there are some stark differences. How do you think the public are taking it this time around? Well,
this time round, we know much more about the main participants. I mean, in those days, the press were much more deferential. These days, they're not, to say the least. And so we know this couple, and certainly those of us of a certain age have lived with this couple through their travails. And so when we watch this, we remember past ceremonies. We remember Diana and Charles going for their marriage.
Indeed,
and then we remember when we see Buckingham Palace, we remember the wreaths outside Buckingham Palace and the national mourning that occurred then.
Indeed we do. Here we are looking at pictures of soldiers, troops arriving at Waterloo Station. I mean, just in terms of the precision of what happens today, just reading exactly what is happening today, it is an extraordinary feat from all of the armed forces. Indeed, the police officers, 30,000, will be on duty today. I mean, it is a magnificent event in many ways. I think also the King is so much more tangible, just picking up on what you said. The fact is, he was on the Mall yesterday, shaking hands, everyone terribly excited to see him. You saw William and Kate there as well. They're very much sort of more touchable. They're more real, certainly, than the late Queen was.
Well, that's something that would never have happened 70 years ago. I mean, to go out and do a walkabout, and of course that goes back to Diana and the whole change in the style of the monarchy. Like you, I walked the route a few days ago.
Did you? Yes.
And of course it's a much shorter route. I mean, the route in 53 was, I think, 4 or 5 miles.
4.5, yes.
Yes, because there is this principle that the monarch must be crowned in the eyes of all the people. And back in 53, before they quite cottoned on to what telling meant, they said, well, it's got to be an enormous long procession through London so that people can see it. We've got to have a long ceremony. And there was this thing of the Abbey having to be filled. It was like a football stadium with 8,000 people.
Well, I don't think we're allowed to do that anymore under health and safety, you know, so you can't have 8,000, so we're down to 2,000. Yes. So, I mean, it will be an extraordinary event, of course, and people have been very excited and looking forward to it.
Yes, and people all over the world, of course, will be participating in it. And the other thing is that certainly didn't exist back in '53. Nowadays, you have people who say they don't approve of the monarchy. And that'll be one of the questions today. There are people who said they're going to protest against the monarchy, that they feel the environment's not being taken care of. Will they respect the right of those who are there to celebrate, or will they interfere?
But to be fair, of course, the King was way ahead of his time in terms of talking about environmental concerns. So actually, I think that's an interesting point. And also, I know the police are deeply concerned about people who might want to protest this ceremony. But I really hope, actually, that we don't see anything like that.